Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks for those that are watching this on demand. Uh, this is our Let's Talk Travel series, focused on eliminating manual stop sales processes in travel. So just a bit of introduction to those that do not know us. We've been automating now in travel for over 17 years. We're well known in the travel industry for helping streamline mid to back office tasks. We work with automation, data and AI, and we've been kind of helping small boutique agencies all the way through to the large enterprise businesses in travel. So today we're going to be talking about the stop sales automation. So the manual process, and the problem is that when the supplier sends information on any stop sales into an email inbox, or documents that are occasionally attached, the complicated bit is that a human would have to select the emails, look through them, any attachments, access the internal database or systems, and make sure that there are, all rules are met to process any kind of stop sales requests and go back to the supplier if they're out of scope, essentially. Now, when they go into the system, they would have to initiate a stop sale, probably in the back office system, to make sure that that hotelier is no longer showing for the agents or no longer showing online. And I get that a lot of people have API feeds and so forth and have portals for their customers, but there are ways that you can streamline it where there's no manual interaction. Obviously, the problems here are that human errors occur. You're relying on a human to get through sometimes as many as 2,000 stop sales requests a day, and make sure that they're manually processing them accurately. It's quite delayed. It's not an easy task. Costs are fairly high in this area when humans are doing it. Sometimes as high as 25 people we found, full-time human staff, so processing stop sales requests, which is a huge amount of costs to the business. Poor data integration, and it can be very, very time consuming. So the benefits of automating is that, one, you become 100% accurate. The bot will do what it's told. It's not doing anything outside of the parameters that you set. You can become more efficient as a company, get real-time updates. Obviously, cost saving is probably the biggest benefit for this particular area of automation, and improved data integration as well. So I'm just going to run through the solution. The automatic solution, and this is just a base level. It can come outside of this and do a lot more, but when the stop sales emails come into a centralized email inbox, our RPA and AI technology extracts the information from the emails and any attachments and scrapes the details. It can also read multiple lines. If some branded hotels have 5 or 6 individual hoteliers under their brand, you might receive multiple lines. But our bot will be able to search that based on an individual basis, search for the supplier within the system based on configurable rules, and it can even search for supplier contracts within the system. So if it finds the supplier based on a set of rules, we can action the stop sale, providing it's within the parameters, and then log on a dashboard and even email the leadership team explaining that this has been actioned. If it can't action the stop sale, or it can't find the supplier based on the information that's been given on email, that would be raised as an exception where your internal team can go back to suppliers and question their stop sales requests. Or even if your humans notice that there is a mapping rule or a mapping change that could be done, you could do this directly out of the exceptions report and even rerun that stop sale or accept it from the dashboard. So the exception report looks something similar to this. So you'd have a list of suppliers that have emailed in, and then where it would be able to show the reasons why. For example, it could be out of contract or out of allocation, or it could be supplier information not found, where they're able to actually go into each record and see any email attachments or any emails that have been sent, plus flagging the reason why it's been raised as an exception, so your team can manage it from here, leaving user notes, going back to the supplier, etc. But ultimately, we can provide that visibility of those that do need your attention. So the stop sales automation is full end-to-end. from email inbox all the way through to actually initiating that stop sale. The only thing that we can't do as a bot is go back to the suppliers, raising any kind of mismatch of information or any exception information. So this is quite a short session today, but ultimately very beneficial to those that are manually processing stop sales information. So I'm just going to allow microphones for this bit for those that might have some questions. Anyone that does have any questions that wants to come back to us later on, feel free to do that. Anyone got any questions?
I've got a question.
Yep, go ahead.
So some hotels obviously will email in loads of different formats. How would a bot be able to understand each of those different formats?
So yeah, so good question. So we see some emails that are just simple, very just to the point, hotel name, dates, and that's just in the email body with no attachments. And we've got some other complex ones that would email an attachment with multiple stop sale requests for that particular hotel. It might say that your original allocation is 10, but now needs to go down to 5 between this date, but then the following month, actually, we can't sell you anywhere at capacity. So it's it can read either email attachments, email bodies, from complicated ones all the way through to the easy ones. One thing I would say is that during any kind of proof of concept period that we do with any customers, that our process is to tackle easy, medium, and hard examples. So we would prove that we can do all kind of three levels of complex kind of stop sales requests. Another question is George.
Yeah, hi. So I was just curious, if there was a contract in place, can a bot check against that to make sure the hotels and such aren't breaching any allocations or?
Yeah, sure. So the process here is that we have two ways of doing this. Sometimes the contracts are actually in the area of the back office system for the stop sales, so the bot could check against that particular contract. Or alternatively, um, we could have a mapping rule at the start, whereas this hotel gives an allocation of 30 per month. So if this particular hotel asks to initiate a stop sale, but we haven't reached 30, then that should be raised as an exception for the humans to then go back to essentially the supplier, the team internally, to go back to the supplier and question whether that allocation stop sale is valid or not. Some companies just simply, oh my God, the bloody wasp. Um, yeah, so some stop sales requests, there's a blooper for you. Some stop sales requests basically are all accepted in some businesses. So if the rule is to accept them all, that's what we'll do. But if there are 50 different contracts that some hotel suppliers will try and get you to sell less, but they haven't given you the allocation they've agreed to, then that's raised as an exception. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got two questions actually. So firstly, sort of going off the back of what the lady said earlier, around different formats. Does that work the same if somebody would deal in different languages? So Spanish, French, Portuguese, for example. Would a solution then understand the multilingual of that coming through?
Yes, yeah, it does. So typically we use more AI for this. So the AI is already kind of built in to recognize the language first. So yeah, there's not been a language we haven't been able to tackle yet. I think Greek was probably the hardest, but yeah, we've got ways that we can use AI technology to identify stop sales requests. We do find that in some cases that we find exceptions raised for Spanish. They have like a DES between or something. So it's like 20th DES March 25 or something like that. So in them cases that the formats change on the actual date request, sometimes we might need a bit of configuration, but and mapping. But after the early stages, you know, we're probably running at about 90% match rate, and then any kind of errors that are raised, you know, the other 10% would be down to a supplier fault. So yeah, we can recognize multilingual you know, requests that come through.
Nice. And then I guess that one of the main sort of questions I get quite a lot when talking about stop sales is around savings. On average, is there a sort of saving cost against using humans that we do find?
Yeah, so I'd say probably averaging roughly around about 50%, if not closer to 60. I have seen some cases though where, you know, teams of 25, 26 people plus full time running this process. So, and I think we probably saved, so they were spending close on 30 grand a month, and we were saving them almost 20, so 2/3. So that's obviously a really good success rate, and the financial difference as well. It was that was offshore, so that wasn't even, yeah, that wasn't even internal. But yeah, so you know, if you think about it that way, could be, you know, if it was against internal UK resource or in-country resource, you're saving a massive difference. So I would say minimum is about 60% saving annual against human resource. Now, the good thing to note here though is that our cost saving isn't designed to get rid of employees. It's free them up for more pressing matters that actually impact business revenue. So one thing I would say is that although there's massive savings to be made, it's not designed to lower your human costs entirely. It's designed to free them up for other areas. But anyone got any other questions at all? No? Okay, well, thanks very much for those who joined today. We'll get the recording of this session out shortly. If anyone's got any questions post sending this out, feel free to get in touch and I'll happily answer any questions. Appreciate your time.